All right, so we're going to go over the problems you sent, and don't get frustrated. It's easy to make mistakes on these, and so just hang in there, and we'll get you there. It sounds like it's just little things, and that's good. You're just getting thrown off by a couple things. Okay, so first things first, we're going to set this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 2x and 3 from both sides. And that'll leave me with 3x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. And then this is going to be my A, my B, and my C right here. So x equals negative B, so negative 2 plus or minus the square root of B squared, so that'd be negative 2 squared, minus 4 times my A times my C, all divided by 2 times my A. Okay, once we have that written down, just make sure we got it correctly written down, and then from here, it's just going to be all about simplifying. So we'll clean this up here, here, and I'm going to multiply these three numbers together, and then those two on bottom. So let's see, I end up with x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of, now be careful here, negative 2 squared actually becomes positive 4. And then I'm going to leave that minus there and just focus on multiplying these three numbers. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. So I have a negative 36 there, and then all over 6. And then we'll go ahead, this will become addition right here. We're going to add the 4 and the negative 36. So we get 2 plus or minus the square root of 40 all over 6. Okay. And this is looking pretty similar to what you have up here for your answer, but we probably, like this, it's very common to make a mistake on the radical part. And it's okay. We'll get there. So we're going to split that 40 into a 4 times 10. And the reason we picked 4 and 10 is because I can square root the 4. So I'm going to square root the 4, so I'm going to get 2 plus or minus, that turns to a 2, square root of 10, all over 6. And so see, 10, you can't simplify that any further because you could break it into 2 and 5, but you can't square root 2 or 5. You can't do it nicely. You'll get a decimal. So once you get to here, all that's left to do is look at all the numbers that have nothing to do with the radical and see, do they all simplify? And they do. They're all simple. You can all divide them or reduce them by a factor of 2. So divide them all by 2. So we're going to get 1 plus or minus, and then you can actually put that as a 1 also, or just put it as square root of 10, and then all over 3 right there. And that is our answer right there. So that's what we're looking at on that first one. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at this second one that you sent. So what we're going to do here, we'll start by setting it equal to 0. We'll subtract 10 from both sides. So x squared plus 6x minus 10 equals 0. And then, see, that'll be my A, B, and C. And then from here, we're going to do the quadratic formula again. X equals negative B. Oops. I know what B is, so I'll fill it in. 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times my A value, and then times my C value, and then all divided by 2 times my A value. All right, so we'll clean this up by squaring the 6, multiplying these three numbers, and then the 2 on bottom. And so let's see, we end up with x equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus, because I'm going to deal with that later. That's a common mistake, so that's why I like to just leave it alone until I multiply these three numbers together. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative 10 is negative 40. And then all over 2. And so we're going to end up adding that together right there. And so I'm going to move that up here so we can see this. So x equals -6 plus or minus the square root. So when I add that together, that's going to give me 76. Oops. There we go. Sorry, my pen. There we go. All right. So then 76. So you got to figure out what we can break that up into. And so it looks like it's going to be 4 and 19. And it looks like that's what you probably did because you have the square root of 19 on your answers. So we're going to break that up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 19. And it looks like the answer you have, well, okay, it's very close, very close. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and square root that 4. So we're going to get x equals -6 plus or minus 2 square root of 19 all over 2. And then the last thing we're going to do is simplify these all by a factor of 2. And so everything looks great. You just didn't cancel out the denominator. So what happens here is, let's see, we'll get -3 plus or minus the square root of 19. And then really it's over 1 because that turns into a 1 when you reduce that. So really you don't have a fraction any longer. It's just going to be -3 plus or minus square root of 19. So, small things, which is good. So hang in there. And if you got some more questions, feel free to send them.